What's up, guys, and welcome to the Two-Man Weave. Today, we're going to be talking about the 12 best free agent signings in the NBA this offseason.
So I wanted to note that these are in no particular order. These are just our top 12. And we included some honorable mentions without including sign and trades because they weren't technically an outright signing. Speaking of, our first honorable mention is Santi Aldama. He just signed a 3-year, $53 million deal with the Memphis Grizzlies, and I'm giving this a B-. The reason I'm giving this a B- is because he had a career high in both field goal percentage and three-point percentage, and he was the third best help defender in the NBA. However, I don't know if this is enough to justify the $17 million contract a year, but with his great defensive help and his solid three-point shooting, this is not a bad deal for the Grizzlies.
Next up in our honorable mentions, we're going to have Steven Adams, who just signed a 3-year, $39 million deal to stay with the Rockets. And for this deal, I'm going to give that a B. He's a solid backup for Şengün, or good to pair with him in a two-big lineup. And this contract keeps Houston underneath the second apron of the luxury tax. The downside of this contract is the amount he'll be getting paid during the year. $13 million per year is a lot for a player who averaged less than 14 minutes during the regular season and only 21 to 22 in the playoffs. The average salary for an NBA player last season who averaged about that 15-minute range was only $3 to $5 million. I really like Steven Adams, and I definitely think that he's worth more than that average bench player who plays 15 minutes, but I do think that $13 million is kind of a steep contract.
Our next honorable mention is Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr. just signed a 1-year vet minimum deal with the Denver Nuggets, and I'm giving this a B. I'm giving this a B because he was a key contributor on the 6-seed Pistons last year and was important to their playoff run. Here he averaged 11 points on 36.8% shooting from 3. So he's going to provide a very good scoring punch off the bench for Denver, and Denver definitely needed this depth. So this is a great contract for them.
Next up in our honorable mentions, and our last one, is Jake LaRavia, who just signed a 2-year, $12 million deal with the Los Angeles Lakers, and for this, I'm giving that the grade of a B. Although his points per game were down from 23-24, LaRavia is coming off a career year in three-point percentage and overall field goal percentage. He could potentially be a solid backup for Rui Hachimura on the Lakers, as they have a very similar stats and are also a very similar build. This is a low-risk deal for the Lakers, and LaRavia could prove to be a solid bench piece behind Luka and what could potentially be the last year or two of LeBron's career. This move creates some depth for LA, something that they've been lacking for the last several seasons.
The first player on our list of 12 is Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet just signed a 2-year, $50 million deal with the Houston Rockets, and I'm giving this an A-. The reason I'm doing this is because this team is in real need of a facilitating point guard. Fred VanVleet brings championship experience to this squad, and he helped carry them in the playoffs when Jalen Green was shut down by the Warriors. In the playoffs, he averaged 17.4 points, 6.1 assists on 45, 41, 89 splits. Now, the real reason why this is an A- is because his previous contract was a 1-year, $45 million deal. Houston was able to negotiate this to a 2-year, $50 million deal instead. So now it's an average of $25 million a year. And the second year has a player option, in case VanVleet wants to go elsewhere year 2. This created a lot of flexibility and allowed Houston to sign more depth pieces in the offseason. So this was a win-win for both VanVleet, who got a raise, and for the Houston Rockets, who were able to sign more pieces to now what's looking like a championship caliber team.
Next up on our top 12 is going to be Kyrie Irving, who just re-signed with the Dallas Mavericks on a 3-year, $119 million deal with a player option in that third year. And for this signing, I'm giving that an A-. Kyrie has been with the Mavs since February of 2023 and has been an incredible fit in the city and in the culture. All the off-court issues he was having seems to have stayed in Brooklyn. He's obviously a great player, former NBA champ, and has one of the best, if not the best, handles of all time. He declined his $43 million player option to sign this new deal, earning him some stability after his bad ACL injury on March 3rd of this year. Once healthy again, he should be pretty scary this season to pair with Klay Thompson and Cooper Flagg on the wings, as well as Anthony Davis and Derek Lively in the middle. This new deal also lowered Dallas's cap hit for this upcoming season, allowing them to sign D'Angelo Russell. The only reason I give this an A- is just due to injury concerns and the uncertainty of if he can be the same player once he returns from his injury.
The next player on our list is DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton just signed a 2-year, $16.6 million deal with the Los Angeles Lakers, and I'm giving this an A-. I'm giving this an A- because Ayton provided a major need for the Lakers, who had a very big hole at the center position, and they got him on a very team-friendly deal. Not to mention that his deal has a player option in the second year, just providing the team with more flexibility. You can't really go wrong with such a cheap deal, especially when you have players like Clint Capella making the same amount of money next year. I think Ayton could provide a lot for the Lakers, especially in the starting role. Last year he averaged 14.4 points, 10.2 rebounds, and 1.6 assists for the 40 games that he played for the Portland Trail Blazers. He had a 57% field goal percentage and only shot 67% from the free throw line. The only other worries with Ayton is that he's not very known for his defense. So the Lakers filling the hole at center still have holes in their defensive capabilities. What he will be great for though is his rebounding prowess. Ayton is a great rebounder and is basically a double-double machine, so they can't go wrong with this deal. And I think anything is better than having Jackson Hayes as your starting center. I think the only reason that Ayton is not an A+ is because of the potential fit. Ayton is known to have work ethic and confidence issues in the past, so I'm worried that the bright lights of LA might mess with his confidence and make this an awful fit. But I am excited to see Luka and Ayton, 1 and 3 in the same draft, play together on the court.
Next, we're going to be talking about Julius Randle, who just re-signed with the Minnesota Timberwolves for a 3-year, $100 million deal with a player option in the third year. For this deal, I'm giving that a B+. After averaging 19 points last season and 22 in the playoffs, Randle gets a well-deserved contract from Minnesota to make him a solid asset to this team alongside Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert. Randle helped carry the Wolves to the Western Conference Finals last year, but the question is if they can finally get over the hump and make it to the finals. This will be a tall task, seeing as the West is more stacked than seemingly ever this upcoming season. Either way, Randle has shown his worth and that he deserved a new contract in Minnesota. The downside of this deal is the cap hit, with all 3 of their backcourt players making over $100 million in their contracts, plus Rudy Gobert's awful contract on top of all of that.
And next, we have Jordan Clarkson, who just signed a 1-year veteran minimum deal with the New York Knicks. I'm giving this a B+. This is because he provides a great scoring punch off the bench, and even though he's been known to be a defensive liability and is going to be 33 years old, now he has a lot of great defenders surrounding him. So he's going to be great in the second unit, especially when Brunson is off the floor, and he's going to have players like OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges backing him up on defense. The only thing to look out for is that he's coming off a season-ending injury. He was able to average 16.2 points in 26 minutes for Utah last season, with a 36% three-point percentage. So I think this is great for the Knicks, especially getting him on a veteran minimum. I'm just worried about his injury concerns.
Next up on our list, we're going to be talking about Miles Turner, who just signed a 4-year, $107 million contract with the Milwaukee Bucks with the player option in that 4th year. And for this, I'm giving that an A-. The Bucks found their Brook Lopez replacement. Turner was expected to stay in Indiana after spending the first decade of his career there, but Indiana decided not to re-sign their star center to avoid the luxury tax threshold. Turner brings elite rim protection and floor spacing to the Bucks, complementing Giannis's playstyle very well. Stats-wise, Turner and Brook Lopez were very similar in the 24-25 season, both being fantastic rim protectors, with Turner averaging 2 blocks per game and Lopez averaging 1.8, with Turner being a tick better than Lopez in almost every other category as well. Turner also had a career high in three-point percentage last season, averaging nearly 40% from 3 over the course of last season. This should be a great fit for Milwaukee, replacing an aging but still very good Brook Lopez with a younger, more versatile Miles Turner, and showing Giannis that they still want to compete while this is still his franchise.
Moving on from Milwaukee, we have Brook Lopez, who just signed a 2-year, $18 million deal with the Clippers. I'm giving this signing a B. I'm giving this a B because this is an upgrade over their previous backup, Drew Eubanks. And Lopez's second year on this deal is also a team option. So this is basically an expiring contract for the Clippers, which you can't go wrong with. And I think this is great because Brook Lopez is going to be 37 years old and he's only going to be a backup. But he'll still provide a great defensive presence and he's still a great three-point shooter. He shot 37% from 3 last season and he's going to be able to space the floor when a lot of the shooters are off.
Next, we're going to be talking about Naz Reid. who just signed a 5-year, $125 million contract with the Minnesota Timberwolves, with a 5th-year player option on that. For this, I'm giving that a B-. Reed is the longest tenured player on the Wolves, being with them since 2019. His story's been impressive, going from an undrafted rookie to 6th man of the year in the 23-24 season to now signing this large contract. Even with being a fan favorite, shooting 38% from 3, and averaging a career high in points last season, this is a big contract for Minnesota to take on, with already having to pay a starting 5 a combined $150 million in 25-26. This ties the Wolves' hands financially, as they will be right at the second apron after this signing. If Reed can keep building off his career-high numbers last year, this could look like a decent contract, but similar or worse stats compared to last year could prove this contract to be a burden on the Wolves franchise.
Next, we have Dorian Finney-Smith, who just signed a 4-year, $53 million contract with the Houston Rockets, and I'm giving this a B+. One of the reasons is because Dorian Finney-Smith was one of the most coveted wing defenders in the entire NBA this offseason, and he has an amazing three-point percentage. He shot 41% from 3 last year, and he's one of the best 3-and-D players the NBA has to offer. He fits perfectly with Ime Udoka's system, and his signing created a lot of depth due to his 3rd and 4th year of his contract being non-guaranteed. This will allow the Rockets to keep flexibility while their younger guys are up for future extensions. Dorian Finney-Smith is one of the best Dillon Brooks replacement that they could find, and I'm sure they're glad that they got him this offseason.
Next, we have D'Angelo Russell, who just signed a 2-year, $13 million deal with the Dallas Mavericks, with a player option in that second year. For this, I'm going to give that grade an A. D'Lo may have had a down year in 24-25, but this is still a fantastic deal for the Mavs. Kyrie won't be back until late in the regular season or even the playoffs, and they were in desperate need of another point guard to bring the ball up until Kyrie returns. D'Lo averaged the worst points per game in three-point percentage in his last decade in the NBA last season at 12.6 points per game and a 31.4% clip from 3, but in 23-24 averaged 18 points per game with a 41.5% clip from 3. If he can get close to his 23-24 numbers again, this is an amazing contract for the Mavs at only $6.5 million a year. Not having to be a top option in Dallas might take the pressure off of D'Angelo Russell, unlike in Brooklyn. With Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg, Klay Thompson, and Derek Lively on the floor, there are a lot of options for D'Lo to facilitate to, as well as complement his usual high assist numbers and three-point threat.
Next, we have James Harden, who just signed a 2-year, $81.5 million deal with the Los Angeles Clippers, and I'm giving this signing a B+. Harden was an All-NBA third-team player last year, and he led the Clippers most of the season with Kawhi being injured. Harden was very durable. He was able to play 79 games, and his new deal has a player option in the second year, which just provides more flexibility for the team. Harden's going to be 36 years old at the start of next season, and him making potentially $40+ million each year could pose a problem for the Clippers in the future. His three-point percentage has dipped to 35% last year, but he was still able to average 23 points per game, 8.7 assists, and 5.8 rebounds, which is an amazing stat line, with 41, 35, and 87 shooting splits. The only worries are his playoff blunders. He had another playoff blunder last year, especially in Game 7. So the signing seems to be amazing for the Clippers if we're basing it purely off of regular season, but all encompassing the playoffs, I can only put this at a B+, especially with his age going up.
The next and last player on our list that we're going to be talking about is Ty Jerome, who just signed a 3-year, $28 million deal with the Memphis Grizzlies with a third-year player option. For this one, I'm giving that grade an A-. Finishing third in the Sixth Man of the Year voting in 24-25, Jerome gets the contract he was looking for, while Memphis gets a good player to back up for or pair with Ja Morant. Jerome shot an insane 44% from 3 last season, immediately making him a threat from wherever he is on the perimeter. With those shooting numbers and a low 1.1 turnovers per 100 possessions last year, this could be a very good addition for Memphis. Alternatively, this could go south if his injury history flares up again, or if his shooting numbers drop significantly, making Memphis have to be stuck with his contract for 2, potentially 3 years.
Yeah, that was definitely an amazing signing for Memphis. Ty Jerome was a sniper from 3 last year, so now they got 2 shooters down there in Memphis with him and Ja. But yeah, Those are our top 12 free agent signings of the offseason so far. Let us know in the comments if we missed anybody, if you agreed with our takes, and let us know if our grades were correct. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure to tune in for our future videos.